and welcome back to yet another edition of As Told by Bree. I am, of course, Bree, and I'm back with yet another video, and this time we are talking all things homeownership. So I'm super excited. If you've been following my channel, then you know that I recently purchased a home at the end of 2022. So I am a brand new homeowner. I'm in the Atlanta area. So I wanted to come on here and share my experience with you guys about my home buying process, give you guys some tips, some advice, and just tell you guys some things that I learned during the process. I know that home ownership is a goal for many, so I hope that you guys can learn through my experiences, and I hope that I'm able to help someone out there. So with all that being said, I also want to make it very, very clear that I am not a real estate professional. I am not a licensed real estate agent, a broker, a lender, an underwriter, an inspector. I'm not any of that, okay? So if you have very specific questions about your personal situation and when the time may be right for you to buy a home, I recommend you consult your neighborhood real estate professionals. Okay, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's go ahead and get right to the video. Oh yeah, and this is my first video in my office. Like, how do we feel? How do we feel about it? How do we feel? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's get into the video for real now. Okay, so first things first, how did I know that I was ready to purchase a home? So I have lived in Atlanta for the past 5 years. 2022 made 5 years. And I was renting for 4 years. So I had 2 apartments. I was in each apartment for about 2 years. And in the most recent apartment I was in, it was just going to shambles, y'all. It was a brand new apartment complex, but the quality of living sucked. Like, everything just sucked. And we were paying a significant amount of money. And then when I started looking at other apartments, y'all know I did an entire apartment hunting series on my channel a couple of years ago. I was like, why is it so expensive for a 1-bedroom apartment? Like, why is a 1-bedroom apartment in the city $2,300? I wasn't understanding that. So I was like, you know what? Let's explore the options of what it would look like to purchase a home. And I had been saving, not necessarily saving for a home specifically, but I just have enjoyed saving money. Like, I have created videos on my channel in the past about tips on saving money. I just like to see my money in my bank account, okay? I am frugal. I am very frugal. And I had stacked up enough to be able to move forward with purchasing a home. And in addition to that, all the other ducks were aligned and in a row. Like, there's a lot that you need. There are a lot of things that have to be right at the time of purchasing a home. You have to, one, have steady income. So I was gainfully employed. You also have to be able to prove 2 years worth of income. So you're going to have to submit documents to your lender. You're going to have to submit pay stubs. You're going to have to submit bank statements to show that you have the cash on hand. Credit score has to be right. Like, there are a lot of things that have to be aligned at the same time for you to be able to purchase a home. And for me, it just made sense. I was like, I can go rent another apartment and pay $2,500 a month and live in a 650 square foot apartment, or I can explore the options of purchasing a home and maybe get 2-3 bedrooms and pay significantly less than that. So I was like, let's look into buying a home. And I have been flirting with the idea of buying a home for years. Like, when I moved out of my first apartment, I really should have purchased something then, but I didn't have enough time at the time. So I was like, okay, whatever. But now the time was right. Everything was aligned perfectly. And I was like, let's move forward now. Because it just made sense. It just made sense for me. Okay. How did I find my realtor? So there are a ton of real estate agents in Atlanta. There are so many realtors in Atlanta. But I have been tuned into this podcast called Real Talk Atlanta, and it's hosted by 4 Black women in Atlanta who are real estate agents. And they talk about all things real estate, from buying, investing, selling. You know, they talk about a little bit of everything on that podcast. And I really liked the girls who were on that podcast. They kind of reminded me a lot of myself, kind of like mid-20s in Atlanta, obviously young Black professionals. And I liked what they were talking about. The way that they talked about real estate was easy for me to digest, easy for me to understand, and it sounded like they really knew what they were talking about when it came to real estate. So I reached out to one of the ladies on the podcast. Her name is River the realtor. Shout out to River if you ever watch this video, girl. And I reached out to her and just kind of started the home buying process from there. Now, when it comes to choosing your realtor, you're not locked in to a realtor or obligated to any realtor until you sign what's called a buyer's broker's agreement. And that's when you are officially committing to this realtor, saying that this is your preferred realtor for your real estate transaction. And at that point, you guys are locked in to a contract saying if this home closes, the commissions go to this brokerage and this specific realtor. Make sure you choose the one that's best for you. I recommend choosing a realtor that aligns with your goals. If you're a first-time home buyer, I would recommend choosing a realtor who specializes in that. If you're an investor, that's a whole nother conversation. I would recommend maybe finding a realtor who specializes in investment properties, relocation, selling, like fix and flips. It's just so much. Like there's so much that goes into real estate. So I recommend doing your research, your due diligence, etc., and choosing your realtor from there. Okay, moving on to the fun stuff. So your pre-approval. So your pre-approval is basically like your stamp of approval saying that you are pre-approved to purchase a home at this dollar amount. So anything prior to that is just hypothetically speaking. And truthfully, a lot of realtors will not work with you until you have been pre-approved, because it also shows a sign of like seriousness, if that is a word. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, that goes to show that you're serious about a transaction, because when you get pre-approved, you have to turn in a lot of those documents that I mentioned earlier to a lender. And usually the realtor that you're working with will have a preferred lender that they will recommend for your pre-approval. So you'll submit your W-2s, you'll submit your pay stubs, you'll submit bank statements. There's quite a few things that go into the pre-approval, but it's basically just showing how much income you're bringing in on a consistent basis, because they look for 2 years worth of income. And then it also measures out your debt. So they'll run a credit check your credit score, and then also see what debts that you have. That way you can form your debt to income ratio. So work with a lender to figure that out, because that's going to determine how much you can truly afford. And I think during the process of purchasing my home, I got pre-approved 3 separate times. I recommend shopping around with a few different lenders, because sometimes lenders can offer different rates, sometimes lenders have different incentives, etc. There's a lot that goes into it. And then if you're working with a particular builder, a lot of new constructions work with preferred lenders, and they'll offer you more incentives, more closing costs. If you don't know any lenders, I recommend just asking your real estate agent, because they will point you in the right direction to get pre-approved for your home. Then you can start shopping around. Once I got pre-approved right at about what I thought I was going to get approved for. So I was happy about that. So we were able to start shopping from there. Once I got pre-approved, and I did everything pretty quick, fast, and in a hurry, baby. I had everything ready. I was like, let me go ahead and pull these W-2s. Let me go ahead and pull these pay stubs. I was not playing, okay? But yeah, so after we got pre-approved, now we can shop. And the pre-approval is good because it gives you a range of what you're able to shop in. And you kind of can see like what falls within your budget. So listen, I just knew when I got... I just knew, y'all. I wanted a condo in the city. I wanted a high-rise condo in the city, because I am at heart, truly, in fact, a city girl. I love living in the city. I love the city. Like, I love the convenience of the city. I love the live, work, play lifestyle that kind of comes along with being in the city. I just like being in the city. So I'm looking at condos, and in my price range, child, the condos weren't giving for real. They just weren't. I was like 1-bedroom condos. They were all old as hell. They were all old, and they were just like not giving. It was like 1-bedroom condos in the city. They were built in like the 1960s. Like, they were just old, dated. It showed in the appliances. Another thing about condos, the HOA on some of these condos, through the roof. Through the roof. I remember looking at one condo in Atlantic Station, and the HOA on that condo was like $600. And that's just for the HOA. That's not even included in your mortgage payment. Okay. So, yeah, I just knew I was going to have a condo in the city. But, and then when we went to go look, because we did a full day of shopping, I think we looked at 4 or 5 in one day. My realtor put a few townhomes on the schedule. And when I started seeing the townhomes, I was like, oh yeah, you get a lot more for your buck if you just go a little bit further out of the city. And at first that was one of my non-negotiables. I was like, I need to be in Atlanta. But in fact, I was like, you know what? After seeing it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can be a little further out the city if I'm really gonna get what I want. And I knew I wanted a full kitchen. Like, I wanted the island, I wanted the kitchen, and I was not getting that in these old condos. I was not getting it. It was like, it was not giving. They just weren't giving. Anyway, so I was like, okay, townhomes. These are cute. Atlanta has a lot of new construction communities. So they were like brand new homes in these brand new communities. And that's something that I love, because in the 2 apartments that I was in prior to moving into my home, they were brand new communities. They were brand new buildings. They were brand new properties. And I was the first person in each of those apartments. So I like the thought of like nobody kind of existing in the space prior to me moving in. So I was like, okay, new construction, new construction, new construction. And at the time, a lot of the new constructions, and even now, a lot of the new constructions were offering like really great incentives for buyers, like $10,000 towards closing costs, $15,000 any way you want it. Like, I've even seen it as high as $20,000 on some of these new construction homes. So yeah, I was like, yeah, new construction, me please. And they were like the most modern in terms of finishes. Yeah, it was more like my vibe. So yeah, that was really the difference between like the condos and the townhomes. And that's why I decided to go with the townhome. If you search on my channel, a few videos down, you will see my empty house tour. And those are a few of the reasons why I chose my home. Like, the incentives, for one. Like, who wouldn't want 5 figures towards closing costs? You know what I'm saying? So that was one thing that drew me out here, because the condos weren't offering any. I mean, of course, like, they weren't offering any closing costs, I don't think. Of course, closing costs are something that your real estate agent will negotiate on your behalf. But with a lot of the new constructions, they were throwing incentives like move in now, because obviously interest rates are higher and builders were trying to get people in to these communities. So I think my home was the 8th home that I toured, and there are a lot of options out there. If you're a buyer, there are a lot of really good incentives out there right now. And when I say that, it is January 20th, 2022. So any day after this, I cannot speak on that. So once I selected my home, and once I was like, okay, yeah, this is the house that I want, especially for a starter home, I think a lot of people have to remember, like, your first home is not your forever home. And it doesn't have to be your forever home. Like, your first home is your starter home. Get your feet wet, build some equity, stay in it for a few years, however many years you so choose, and sell it, move on to something better. Or if you want to keep it in the family, you're more than welcome to do that, pass it on to future generations. But your first home doesn't have to be your forever home. If I had to say, in my case, I sacrificed home location, because, baby, like I told y'all, I am a city girl. I like living in the city of Atlanta, within Atlanta city limits. But that's one thing I had to sacrifice on, but it's okay because it's my first home. It's a brand new construction community. One thing about new constructions are one of the quickest ways to build equity in a home. If you can purchase in a new construction community, especially if you're in one of the very, very early phases, in phase one, when the prices are low, by the time that new construction community is finished, you will see so much in equity. So the way it works with new construction communities, they have a starting price. So let's just say the first 5 homes in that community are all listed at $200,000. They have all of those homes. As those homes sell, the next set of homes in that new construction community may be listed at 207. Those homes sell, the next ones are listed at 214. Those homes sell, the next one are listed at 221, and so on and so forth. And by the time the new construction community is finished, you may be up to like $270,000 in terms of the value of your home. So you moved in when the value of the home was $200,000, and now it's 2 years later and the value of the home is $275,000. Like, just to give you guys an example and give you guys some even numbers, that's how new construction communities work. So if you can buy in to a new construction community, especially in the very, very early phases, that's what I will recommend to you. That's one of the easiest ways to build equity in a home without having to make any major renovations, without having to flip anything. Take it from me. And ask your real estate agent if you don't believe me. So once I decided on the home that I wanted, I had to pay what is called earnest money. And earnest money is basically good faith money. This is like your deposit basically on your home. And then you go under contract. And from there, you're under contract for about, it's about 30 days. From the day you go under contract to close, for me, it was about 30 days, which was fine because I still have my apartment. It can be shorter sometimes depending on like your realtor, your particular situation, whatever the case may be. I've seen some people do it in 14 days. I've seen some people do it in 21. But I think standard is about 30. So I was under contract for 30 days. And everything was pretty much smooth sailing while we were under contract. Yeah. Everything was smooth sailing. You don't really have to do too much when you're under contract. As you get closer to your closing date, you do have to do a few things. You have to get an inspection. You have to get your house appraised. So both of those are almost another $1,000. I think all in all, it might have been like $700-800 that I had to pay for my appraisal and my inspection collectively. I paid about $700-800. I don't quite remember, but those are fees that could possibly come into play. And I want to do an entire video strictly dedicated to finances when it comes to buying a home. Yeah, because buying a home is a lot of money. And a lot of people will ask, like, how much do I have to have saved up to buy a home? How much, they'll ask the realtors, how much do you recommend I save? Like, everybody's situation is so different. Everybody's situation is so different. Like, the price of the homes are different. Are you going to have to fix and flip anything when you get into the home? Are you going to have to make any renovations? How much furniture do you have? Are you bringing that furniture with you? Are you going to have to paint anything? Like inspections, appraisal, moving costs? Are you going to have to hire movers? It's a lot. It's a lot that goes into purchasing a home when it comes to finances. So I'm more than happy to make a video on that specifically. And like I said, I have a video on saving money on my channel now. Y'all go ahead. I'll link it down below. I'll link it in the description. Every video that I reference in this video will be linked down below. So did the inspection, did the appraisal. Well, let me tell y'all what an appraisal is. And the appraisal basically just lets you know the value of your home. With the loan, they're only going to lend you how much the home is worth, okay? So if your home is $200,000 and that appraisal comes in at 180, guess how much they're gonna give you? 180. If you're lucky. Well, in my scenario, my appraisal came in over what the price of my home was. So that's always a good thing. And then from there, I worked with my lender. And basically, it's a lot of documents, y'all. It was so many documents that had to be signed between like going under contract and closing. like closing disclosures. The contract itself was a lot. Like my realtor had to walk me through that contract because it was just, it was a lot. It was a lot of jargon that I did not understand. It was just a lot. It was a lot. It was just a lot of paperwork, a lot of everything. I was getting a headache. I was like, I don't even know where to start. In the closing disclosure, they basically told me how much I would have to bring to the closing table. So, you know, you have your down payment, and then you also have closing costs, which are costs associated with closing on the home. I know that was like, duh, but like, it's a lot of costs associated with closing on a home. Those closing costs can be just as much as your down payment. I think mine ended up being more, but I had my seller's credit, the credit from my builder, the incentives, the money that they gave me towards my home, and that knocked off pretty much all of it. Yeah, so I didn't have to come to the table with major closing costs. A couple thousand, but not like significant closing costs. And then the last thing I did was my blue tape walkthrough, which I did maybe about a week prior to closing. And that's basically where you come into the home and you walk through and you put like blue tape on everything that is out of place or like messed up and just not perfect. And then from there, the builder, in my case, a builder, has time to go in and make the proper adjustments. And I just want to be clear, my new construction home was already finished. I know a lot of times with new constructions, people get to like build their home and choose their finishes and all that, but mine was already finished and move-in ready, which is why the process moved so quickly. Alrighty, and the last few steps, literally the day of my closing, they verify my employment. So if you say you work somewhere, y'all, make sure you work there because they will find out. They did an employment verification literally on the morning of my closing to make sure I was bringing in the money that I say I bring in. It was actually kind of annoying that they did it so close to close because they weren't able to get in touch with my HR department, nor were they able to get in touch with my payroll department. So I'm scrambling, trying to get things together, and it's the day of my closing. I'm talking about I'm doing this at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, and my closing is set for like 2 or 3. Yeah. So that was, oh my God, that was a headache. And I didn't have my cleared close then. And if you know anything about real estate, you know you can't do anything without that clear to close, baby. I got my clear to close literally on my closing day. Yeah. So we ended up having to postpone the closing day till the next day for so many reasons. Oh my God, it was a lot. It was like that, and like it was just a lot. Like there was a lot going on that day. I was stressed out, so I was like, you know what? I'm about to pull the plug on all of this. And I was like, I'm not closing today. So I ended up closing the next day, y'all. It was so much. That day was stressful. I cried on that day. Oh my God, I'm getting flashbacks and I'm just ready to move on from this topic. They verify your employment with the underwriter. They do all the good stuff. And then you're ready to close. So I closed on my home. It was a Wednesday. It was midweek. Anyway, so my closing day was the day I actually closed was pretty smooth. I have a video on my channel of my closing day. I vlogged the entire thing. I just bought that camera too. And, well, this camera. But my closing day was a pretty smooth sailing experience. So on your closing day, you go to your attorney's office and basically you sign a bunch of documents. You sign about 11 documents. And then once you sign all your documents and all the money has been wired and transferred and all that good stuff, then you are officially the owner of that home. So from there, went back to my house and did like a big celebration. Well, let me not say celebration because it was just me, my mom, my dad, my realtor, and my photographer. That's it. But my realtor had nice gifts for me. Like I said, I have some videos on my channel that show everything, the whole closing day process. But yeah, so I'm officially a homeowner, and sometimes it's surreal. Like sometimes it's just surreal. Like sometimes I don't actually believe it, which is so crazy because it happened. Like It actually happened. And I did it on my own. I got everything on my own. But sometimes it's just like, sometimes it still just doesn't feel real. But I'm proud of myself nonetheless. I'm excited to finally get this place furnished. Like fully furnished and fully decorated. I'm gonna take my time with it though. I love to decorate. So one thing about it, two things for sure, I know to take my time when it comes to that. But yeah, we in here now, baby. So yeah, I'm super excited for what's to come in this home ownership journey. I've been enjoying it so far. Oh, but you guys are ready because I plan on doing more videos on home ownership because yeah, I know when I was when I was getting ready to buy my home, I was looking at everything. I was looking at closing day vlogs. I was looking at empty house tours. I was looking at like my experience buying my first home. Like I was looking at everything. So I'm here to help you guys along the way as well in the best way that I can, the best way that I know how. So leave very, very, very specific questions down below. I'll make a follow-up video to this video that answers all of your questions that I can to the best of my ability. And who knows, maybe I'll bring in some realtors. Maybe I'll bring in some realtors to like be my guest on the show. Maybe we can do like a sit down type of thing and talk about like real estate and owning homes, or like if you're getting ready to sell, like if you want to invest. We can talk about first time home buyers assistance. It's something that I did not tap into, but we can definitely talk about that. I'm more than happy to talk about that and bring in some professionals. So let's do it. So y'all release some questions down below. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you guys are ready because it's gonna be a new series on my channel and I'm so excited. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Later.